Hey yo, what's up guys? Aaron Taylor here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Nah, I'm just playing. This is for a school thing. So, I watched this documentary. This is my official review on this documentary. Athlete A. It's about USA Gymnastics and sort of how it came to be what it is, and then what these athletes had to deal with during their time in there. And it's a pretty harsh story. It's a hard watch, but ultimately in the end they get, to a degree, they sort of get their justice. Now I was really surprised that all of this media coverage and the awareness was really spread by the Indianapolis Star, which is surprising because my personal experience with the Indianapolis Star, not very good. I'm from Indianapolis, and my senior year of high school, I wrestled at the Marion County Championships, and they covered it. A lot of people who won in their weight class got a picture with their hand raised and stuff. You know, I was the 160-pound not state champ, Marion County champ, and they showed a picture of me getting my face pushed into the mat, and it says, the caption was, wrestler Noah Blank of Perry Meridian wrestles Aaron Taylor to the mat. Like, come on, guys. You don't want to mention that I won and, show a picture of me getting my hand raised? But that's besides the point. They kind of changed my mind. You know, I had a perspective change about the Indianapolis Star. So, the documentary sort of starts off with a historical background on what USA Gymnastics is. It was normally just, adult athletes. But then we see a 14-year-old Romanian girl win an Olympic gold medal. And this sort of changed the whole trajectory of what USA Gymnastics was going to become. So it becomes a culture where young girls are getting put into this, assembly line, you know, because they have a very short window in which they can get into gymnastics and start to get good, and then they have a very short window on which they can go and compete at a high level and bring in those medals and get that recognition and bring in the money for USA Gymnastics. So, once we have that established, that USA Gymnastics is a culture where they're training young girls at a very young age, starting off as young as 5, 6 years old. It sort of it attracts, you know, potential predators. And once you have things happening to these young girls who, they're so naive and they don't really know what's going on. They just want to be a people pleaser. They just want to do good. They want to get that gratification of they're doing good. And they trust adults. So when adults take advantage of them, they don't really realize it. And if they do realize it, they don't want to say anything. And so we start to hear from Maggie Nichols. She's deemed Athlete A. She's one of the first people to really speak out against it. And one of the main guys in this documentary is Dr. Larry Nassar, and he's the team physician. And some of the testimonies about him was just disgusting. People talking about what they did, molestation-wise and stuff. And he would just cover it up oh, it's a osteopathic procedure, and he'd use fancy anatomical words, and he would publish these videos, and whole time, in the midst of these videos, in front of their own parents during their medical examinations, they were getting violated pretty much. And so yeah, we have this culture where young girls, they want to do good, they don't know what's going on, they're not going to say anything. And then you have people taking advantage of them. And predators are going to they're going to watch the back of other predators. Once something's said, nobody else is going to say anything. And that's pretty messed up. That's where you sort of have a problem there. And so we start to see some of the testimonies of the girls after learning about the history. And it kind of leads into it. And sort of covering up for one another, the bystander effect. It's a psychological phenomena where basically you assume that somebody else has already done something about it or said something about it, that you decide yourself not to say anything. An example of this was a girl was killed in New York City and beaten and killed in broad daylight. Nobody said anything, and because they just assumed that somebody else had already called the police. And she just sat there and bled out eventually. Nobody did anything about it. But ultimately, we get to the point where we're getting some traction, and more people start coming forth, and they're revealing their testimonies, and they build a strong case. It wasn't just against Dr. Larry Nassar. It was against USA Gymnastics as a whole. Now, the legal sort of implications that resulted from this is, like, obviously there's going to be financial consequences. Lawsuits, like, and the fact that they blatantly were covering it up doesn't help. And then also a loss of trust. There's a loss of trust. Parents are they're not going to want to put their kids into gymnastics once they know that this sort of behavior is not only happening, but it's like almost accepted. And ultimately, it's a big hit for USA Gymnastics as a whole, and it might make you want to rethink about putting your kids into something like that. I mean, can you really blame anybody? But yeah, all in all, it was a really eye-opening experience watching this documentary, and it was very unexpected. It was just really eye-opening, and I'm just glad to see that these girls were able to get their testimonies out and were able to sort of receive justice in a way. And now that the awareness is out there, we'll have a chance to restructure what USA Gymnastics is, and we'll get some new faces in there, and hopefully we can put in some new guidelines and things to make sure that occurrences like this don't happen anymore. So, thank you.